topic is God. If you think of God, you are. Oh, can I have Brother Uday Kumar? Can you read out the contents? Thank you.
My dear boys, are you feeling my presence in the very cells of your body? God, if you think, God you are. Dust, if you think, dust you are. Verily, thoughts are things. As you think, so you become. What you sow, so you reap. Spiritual development does not germinate from the seed sown in the soil of earthly pleasures. Every reaction in the form of evil or hatred is so much loss to the mind. And every evil thought or deed or hatred or any thought of reaction, if it is controlled, will be laid in your favor. It is not that you lose by thus restraining yourself. We are going to gain infinitely more than what we expect. Each time we suppress hatred and feelings of anger, it is so much energy stored up in our favor. That piece of energy is converted into the highest power. My dear boys, ensure and praise are mere vibration of the air. God in you is God in all. If you have not known this, you have known nothing. If you are pure and strong, you are equal to the whole world. Better to be raised than to be praised. Mere praising is falling down. Search the human mind and find out the one who made it. Where there is difference, remove it. Where there is misunderstanding, drive it off. You should not compromise divine interest. Truth is more fundamental than atom. My boys, shake off all the hatred and jealousy. You will gain realization this moment. Attachment to these sense objects detaches you from the Supreme. Your work is not to make the soul free, but to get rid of bondage. God alone is eternal. Everything else is transitory. Everything dies. Rise above the body. Consume it, and then only will you realize the divinity. Self-realization is the highest end of education. Sai is always with you in around. Be good and happy. Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, brother. Next, Brother Billy.
Okay, so this is a letter written by Swami to his student in the year 1973. As we read through this letter, we find that there are many gems of wisdom. And in fact, the letter is so profound. In fact, when we're discussing this, we're trying to understand each sentence. And this is the brief essence of the letter. No? So firstly, Swami says, feeling God's presence, the power of thoughts, what you sow, so you reap. Fourthly, the importance of controlling anger and hatred, overcoming differences and misunderstanding, always safeguard your divine interests, hatred and jealousy. Everything is impermanent. Self-realization is the highest goal, and always be good and happy. Now, I'd like to touch on the first line. If you read this article, Swami said, "My dear boys, are you feeling my presence in every cell of your body?" So, brothers and sisters, I'm going to unshare this for the time being. What I'd like you to do is, I'd like you to just take up your left hand, your right hand, and just put it on your chest. Do you feel your heart beating? Or if you don't feel the heart beating, then okay, just put your fingers, and do you feel your pulse beating? So this is the presence of God inside us, and we are always take this for granted and we forget about it. So Swami said, okay, are you feeling my presence in your body? So try every moment to feel God inside us, okay? So now let's move on. Okay, so the next few lines say the following, okay? Over to you, Sister Mailing.
Yep. God, if you think, God you are. Thus, if you think, thus you are. Verily, thoughts are things. As you think, so you become. What you sow, so you reap. you rape. Next, brother. Okay. Thus, if you think, thus you are. All right. Okay. This part of it, you can see that there is a lady there. This lady in having a bulb inside the head, meaning this lady, the thought is so bright, she foresee staying in the beautiful bungalow in front of her, having a cheerful dog, accompanied with a smiling sun, and having a beautiful garden. If you put a beautiful things inside your mind, then you will have the beautiful visions that you want to see. So it depends on what you put inside your mind, so that you can see what is in front of you, and you see the other man, and this man, and under depressions, no hope, loss, no bright future, cannot see tomorrow is coming by. He marry, exit only, and not live his life. You can see how, and the surrounding also accompany him, to support his feeling and emotions. So God, if you think, God you are. So what do you want to put inside your mind, inside your thought, then it will manifest for you. Eventually, you are the witness. So that's God, you think, God you are. Thus, you think, thus you are. So everyone have a choice to put what, inside our mind. This second picture is thoughts are things. We know that our thoughts is abundance of, our mind is having abundance of thoughts. You see the first picture is a man. Okay, you verify this picture on the left hand side and the right hand side. This man, people always say, we always see things twice in our lifetime. Once is inside our mind. Example, if you want to do a chair, so you have to have the picture chair inside your mind, so that you can manifest it out, the chair, how it look like. Example, this man having everything in his mind. He can see the rocket, the galaxy, the beautiful garden, everything in his mind. So eventually, on the picture on the right hand side, you can see the different, this on the left and the right is having a human being. This human being actually is a witness of his own manifestations. So the thoughts are things. As you think, so you become. So what you put inside, that is the thing that will come back to you. So rightfully said, we have to choose right thing to put inside our mind, so that we experience and witness our own thought.
Okay, so
Next.
do we have an example of this to further illustrate on this? This is a video taken in the year 1961, where President of USA, the John F. Kennedy, he made a speech on May 25th. And let's listen to what he said in his speech.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth. I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth.
So, brothers and sisters, to fly to the moon is something impossible at that point of time, okay? And it's something very difficult. But yet, John F. Kennedy dared to think about it and dared to express this thought, over TV to the whole nation. And what happened is that in the year 1968, this took place, okay?
Tower clear. Past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
So this is the Apollo spaceship, Apollo 11. And 4 days later, It landed
Tranquility Base here.
on the moon.
The Eagle has landed. Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot. That's one small step for man. One giant leap for mankind.
So I think there were three of them, 2 or 3 of them in a spaceship. And then they collected rock samples, and then mini rovers. And now they are returning back to Mother Earth.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth. Of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth. Of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth.
So, brothers and sisters, if we look back at the essence of this particular statement made by President John F. Kennedy, okay? You see, the words are very powerful. He said, I believe, this nation should commit. So the commitment is there that we must commit, to achieve the goal. And we must have a goal. And when, before the end of this decade. And what is the goal? Of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to Earth. So they really, nobody thought whether it's possible, but this is what they call a vision set by one man. And that thought, in his mind, become a reality. So what we want in life, we must always have a clear goal in our mind, okay? And the belief is very important that we can achieve it, and the commitment must be there. Most importantly is the goal, okay? And we must have a timeline, okay? So there is one statement by Swami, God, if you think of God, you are dust. If you think of dust, you are. So what is in our mind is very, very important, okay? So now let's move on. Now, in the article, in the letter written by Swami to his students, there's also a sentence which say the following: where there is difference, remove it. Where there is misunderstanding, drive it off. You should not compromise divine interests. Truth is more fundamental than actum, okay? So what is the meaning of this, okay? We are going to put forward our understanding of this, but please forgive us if our understanding of this is not complete, okay? Perhaps the best way to explain this line written by Swami is to look at the prayer of Saint Francis of Assisi, okay? So this is how the prayer read, okay? Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. When there's hatred, let me sow love. Where there's injury, pardon. Where there's doubt, faith. Where there's despair, hope. Where there's darkness, light. Where there's sadness, joy. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is giving that we receive, it is pardoning that we are pardoned. And it is dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen. Okay, so this is what we thought would best describe this particular sentence. Okay, when there's difference, remove it. When there's misunderstanding, drive it off.
Okay. Our our group member, Brother Mukesh, from from London. Actually, he stayed in London. He shared with us a statement here, which I would like to share with all the audience here. So when the eye sees someone who is regarded as an enemy, there is an upsurge of ill will in the mind. On the other hand, when one sees a dear friend, the reaction is one of love and affections. As in the case of this scene, what we heard can also have bad or good effects. The power of words to influence the mind is even more. Great Vedic pronouncement like Aham Brahmasi, I am divine, Tattvam Asi, the art that, and Ayam Atma Brahma, this self is God, provide inspirations to aim at the highest goal. They should not be construed or used in any manner to inflate one's ego. Every expression is charged with a power of its own. When the words are abusive or vulgar, they arouse excitement, anger, or depression. But when the words used are sacred, they generate a sanctifying and ever-rating power. The joy or distress experienced by the mind is the result of the impressions conveyed by the senses. Meaning, if your eyes can see good things, your eye can see the person in front of you is enemy because you have that in your mind. The enemy feeling is only the reflections of it. So you can actually examine or evaluate your senses, what you see, why you have that. So meaning we have to have a pause to see and examine our own perimeter of our feeling and our senses. Same go to eyes, same go to what we hear, same go to the words that we utter. So all these senses is contribute back to your mind, to the thought and to the mind to feed yourself. So if you will have a very high awareness and you are so alert, excuse me, of what you see, what you hear, and what you put inside your mind day in and day out, that will actually present you your day in, day out, whether you are living, whether you are see everything, you can connect back to Swami. If you ever to see everything in this life, you can connect back to Swami. This is also Swami, this is also, yes, this nature also, yes, this weather also is Swami. Everything you can connect back, that you have a beautiful and very blessed life then. And you are, so the senses actually is under your control then.
Yeah, Sister Mei-Ling, if I may add something, okay, Swami always talk about pure vision. You know, we must always see good. Swami say whatever you see affects your feeling, and this feeling become thoughts, you know, and these thoughts become words, and these words become action, and this action becomes the reality outside. So this is where if we want to have good thoughts, then we must be very careful with what we see. And Swami has said that for young children, those of you with young children, okay, the first 6 years is very important. Make sure that whatever they see is pure and sacred. Okay. And also what we hear will also affect us. So this is where Swami do not like us to be indulged in gossip. Okay, because what we hear will affect us. And similarly, music, okay, always listen to music. And this is where those with children, make sure your children listen to good music. And on words, okay, Swami is very particular about, control of the tongue. Because what we say, Swami say, at the tip of the tongue lies the goddess of wealth. At the tip of the tongue also lies Lord Yama. If you're not careful with what we say, we may invite a lot of trouble, okay? And similarly, if we say the right thing, we attract prosperity. All right? So, and then this is where Swami say every expression is charged with a power of its own, okay? And therefore, Swami always like us to be what they call, do not use abusive words. Words must be, speech must be soft, okay? In the letter to Swami, Swami also said, my boys, shake off all the hatred and jealousy. So Swami talk about hatred and jealousy, okay? So how much do we know about hatred and jealousy? So let's see. So this is a very beautiful oak tree. And we like to use this example of oak tree to talk about hatred and jealousy. Somebody say, my boys, shake off all the hatred and jealousy. Why? Because people with jealousy and hatred are pursuing the wicked path and bringing ruins on themselves. Jealousy is the dangerous cancer that eats at the roots of the tree of life, while hatred is a pest that attacks the trunk of the tree. Thus, the tree of life is completely destroyed by both these pests, which means you're very careful. Jealousy and hatred can destroy our life. So this is a dying tree. This tree is dying because the root has been attacked, and also the tree trunk has been attacked. So we got to be very cautious about whether we have feelings of jealousy, feeling of hatred, okay? And Swami said, okay, that every one of us have a certain degree of jealousy, okay? And Swami said, jealousy is prevalent in all types of people, be they yogis, bogis, rogis, be they considered among the sacred, worldly, or the sick, and dissipated one. It is mostly on account of jealousy that people lost their peace of mind and waste their lives. Jealousy, for instance, can enter even into your relationship with divinity itself, okay? Some people, they are so close to God. They, because of jealousy, they don't like other to have so much of grace from God as well. And this is where jealousy can even ruin an organization. And we are seeing this in some spiritual organization. And Swami has said this also, that the envious man is more dangerous than a snake, because a snake can be subdued by charming mantras or by some herbs. But an envious person cannot be pacified by any means, okay? So this is where we got to be very cautious, okay? I've seen cases, I've known of cases whereby, between siblings, because of jealousies, they try to harm, the next sibling. Okay, so jealousy can be very, very dangerous. Okay, it's more dangerous than a poisonous stick. Okay, so then we come to the questions. Okay, there are two questions asked. Okay, if you are about to respond with a reaction in the form of evil, of hatred, how can you shift that towards an opposite positive response? So over to you, Sister Melly.
Here is the questions. If you are about to respond with the reactions in the form of evil, of hatred, how can you shift that towards an opposite positive response? Come, we visit what Swami answers. Swami have given us the answer actually. Come, we revisit the three examples given by Swami. The first one, handling criticism and abuse. Now, this is some wisdom from Swami.
Okay, Sai Ram.
Okay, Saramaya.
Yeah, everyone faces criticism. Even the gods themselves are not spared of criticism. But then how one faces the criticism determines what one becomes. That's what the popular story of a donkey that fell in the well tells us. When the donkey fell in the well, it brayed out loud. To bury the irritating sound, everyone came and threw mud into the well. The donkey, however, kept shrugging off the dirt from its body and did not allow itself to get buried under it. Finally, it made use of the amount of mud which had collected in the well to actually get out of the well. Criticism can be used constructively. In fact, constructive criticism actually depends on the attitude of the one being criticized and not on the attitude of the one criticizing. Sorry.
Yeah. Sairam, thank you, brother. So,
Yeah, this
Swami,
is a beautiful sentence there. Constructive criticism actually depends on the attitude of the one being criticized, and not on the attitude of the one criticizing.
yes, I agree this one. This is actually catching my mind actually about criticism. We must have used the constructive criticism. You have to evaluate why people criticize you, and he not purposely to put you down, but is having his own value, on input and idea why the person come to you and say something. So you see, actually it depends on the attitude of the one being criticized. It actually depends on the person, who receive it. It's not on the person who say it. So whether you are open enough and having open mind, having a big heart and post back, don't react and listen first. Having that in you, this is very important, so that we are not so much in the reaction on it, or react fast, but we respond. We take time to respond to it. And then this is actually got my constructive criticism, is what Swami have said. But we go to a second one example.
Let us say somebody has criticized you. You get angry, upset. When you get angry, upset, do not react immediately. Think to yourself, do I have in me the defects that have been pointed out by them? If in case those defects are there in me, then it is not my mistake to get angry, upset with them. However, if the blemishes pointed out by them are not present in me, then why should I get angry, upset with them? If you thus give an opportunity for such an inquiry and spend time in introspection, your anger will subside. From Public Discourse 24 minutes.
Yeah, thank you, brother. So this part of it, Swami give the answer, is already self-explainer. If you're, we have to have a pause and inquiry and spend time to do our own introspections. And that is very important, rather than we react it very fast. So, all right. The third one, Brother Billy, want to add anything about this part?
Okay, let me go through this. Okay, so Brother Uday Kumar gave us example 3, a story, okay, of Professor Nanjundaya, okay. Started his association with Swami in the year 1970 as a lecturer of commerce in the Brindavan College, and retired as controller of examinations of the Sri Satyasai International Institute, Sri Satyasai Institute of Higher Learnings. In the year 1974, a few Indian newspapers, instigated by some influential personalities, carried vicious articles attacking Baba. Many unfounded and baseless allegations were made during the smear campaign, and the devotees were all very pained, Professor Nanjundaya included. Unable to find any other expression of his hurt and anger, he wrote a letter to Swami. In the letter, he prayed to Swami to ensure by his divine will that such person don't write or communicate in any other way such things about Swami ever. During a darshan session at Brindavan, he gave the letter to Swami, and Swami accepted it. A few days later, as Swami was going into his car, he beckoned to Professor Nanjundaya. He asked him to sit alongside him in the car. During the drive, Swami asked, "What was the letter you wrote to me about?" "Swami, I have a prayer. I've read such horrible things against you in the newspapers. It is really painful to read such things. Swami, please see to it that these people do not write such criticism against you." Much to his shock, Professor Nanjundaya saw that Swami seemed to get upset with his plea. Swami said, "You should not pray like that. Just as you have the right to love me, they have an equal right to criticize me." I respect their feelings and bless them. Freedom has been given to all and it should be respected. Use or misuse of freedom is a choice that is made. Depending on the choices made, there will be consequences. You can make your choice, but not limit others' choice. You should not pray like that. Not the one to give up easily. Professor Manjadaya amended his prayer saying, in that case, Swami, I pray that such words against you should not reach my attention. Immediately, Swami seemed to cool down. His anger had served the purpose, and now he called upon the smile to play his role as his instrument. With a twinkle in his eye, he said, you can pray. Okay. So any comment on this, Sister Melly?
Yeah, that part, you see, Swami have said, people, everyone have a choice, have a freedom. Have a freedom is given to you, and you have a choice. But the choice that you make, eventually you have to face the consequences. So everyone of us have a choice. When we have given the freedom and the free will, as although you say everything is by Swami will, but in whatever undertaking that we make, the freedom that we have, we should not misuse it. Why? Because we need to face the consequences. Thank you.
Okay, now let me add something here, okay? As much as here this article talks about how should we tackle criticism, okay, for being the one who's been criticized, Swami has also said the following, okay? Desist from criticizing anyone. If you criticize others, the defects pointed out to you will come to you. Accept everything as something good. Okay? So in fact, I read somewhere, somebody said that criticism is like murder, It causes pain to others. So as far as possible, try not to criticize. Okay? Now then, in the letter written by Swami, there's also this sentence, if I may read this one out, okay? Swami said, this is something very profound. Every reaction in the form of evil or hatred is so much loss to the mind. And every evil thoughts or deeds of hatred or any thoughts of reaction, if it is controlled, will be laid in your favor. It is not that you lose just restraining yourself. We are going to gain infinitely more than what we expect. Every time we suppress hatred or feeling of anger, it is so much energy stored up in our favor. That piece of energy is converted into the highest power. So how do we understand this and how do we interpret this, okay? Now, let's assume that we are Christ, okay? So in fact, I imagine I myself am Jesus Christ, okay? So Jesus Christ, is going around telling people the truth, what is good, you see? And how to avoid suffering, things like that. But instead of people praising him, there are some who talk bad about him, slander him, okay, and they even try to harm him, okay. And finally, there's a group of people who, got him arrested, and he was brought before the judge, and he was sent for crucifixion. So when they came to the place called the Skull, there they crucify him. And the criminals, one on the left and one on the left, one on the right and one on the left. But Jesus was saying, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. So Jesus was telling, instead of having feeling of anger and hatred, okay, he was asking God, forgive them, forgive my enemy, for They are crucifying me because they do not know what they are doing. My enemies do not know what they are doing. Okay. In fact, whenever you talk about Christ, okay, this particular saying by Christ come to my mind. Okay. Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. The teachings of the following quotation of Mahatma Gandhi, okay, could explain this, okay. And we know that Mahatma Gandhi propagate non-violence, okay. And this is what Mahatma Gandhi said, okay. I object to violence because when it appears to be good, the good is only temporary. The evil it does is permanent. And he also said, in a gentle way, you can shape the world. And Mahatma Gandhi also said, you need to have patience. And to lose patience is to lose the battle. Okay. And how do we overcome this anger, hatred, jealousies? Okay. This is where in 1965, Swami has given 2 prayers, one a morning prayer and one in the evening prayer. And this is where, in this particular prayer, Swami, let me just read through this prayer. Swami said, he'd like us to recite this prayer for you. Say, oh Lord, I'm born now from the womb of sleep. I'm determined to carry out all tasks this day as offerings to Thee, with Thee ever present before my mind's eye. Make my thoughts, words, and deeds sacred and pure. Let me not inflict pain on anyone. Let no one inflict pain on me. Direct me, guide me this day. So for me, this particular affirmation is like, in the computer, you need to install some antivirus program, right? So these affirmations, if we say often, whenever we have been criticized or we've been hurt, the tendency is to retaliate. But then when we want to answer back, this sentence comes to my mind. Okay, make my thoughts, words, and deeds sacred and pure, which means someone hurt me, scolded me. Okay, let me not answer back in anger. Okay, as much as we do not want others to inflict pain on us. Okay, and the one which I underlined, direct me and guide me this day. So this is, for me, this is very powerful, which means every morning we're telling Swami, direct me, Swami, think through me, guide me this day. Okay. So with this, we have finished our presentation, and perhaps maybe we go through again the presentation and see whether any feedbacks from all of you, whether you agreed, you may have better insights into what we have presented.
Thank you, Billy. Very nice, very comprehensive, but I think in this letter itself, as you said rightly, possesses everything that needs to for our own salvation. So let's look at it. Anybody wants to ask any questions? Let's go back to the first part, Billy, just the first. So Swami is saying we have to feel God's presence. Then he's emphasizing on the power of thoughts, and then telling us that you got to focus on what you should focus, and then the importance of controlling anger and hatred, overcoming differences and misunderstanding. Always safeguard your divine interests.
Yeah, this is one word which we are trying to understand. Okay, what do you mean by divine interests?
Yeah, so let's read that line. Where does it state? Then we can interpret this.
Okay.
In the text.
Okay, it's here. Okay. Mere praising is falling down. Search the human mind and find out the one who made it. Where there's difference, remove it. Where there's misunderstanding, drive it off. You should not compromise divine interests. Truth is more fundamental than atom. So this is where Swami mentioned about divine interests.
Okay. So this is a very, very nice line. Anybody wants to comment? Anybody want to add on?
I think divine interest means our spiritual growth, where I feel that. And that is where Swami is saying that these worldly, these 5 enemies which we have, they should be controlled, because they'll be damaging our divine progress. So that's what I feel, that we don't compromise. We should give priority to our divine spiritual goals, so that these things becomes less. Otherwise, normally what happens, the mind tends to go in a flow of misunderstanding, hatred, and all those things. So you should not compromise on divine interest, means because these things, if we follow, then we will be moving away from our divine goal, our interest, our divine purpose of spirituality. That's what I could feel.
Thanks, brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, situation now. Here Swami said, my boys, shake off all the hatred and jealousy. You will gain realization this moment. So it looks that if we want to have self-realization, these are the 2 things that we must try to get rid of: hatred and jealousy.
See, when you are experiencing some form of hatred and some of jealousy, what is it that is experiencing the hatred or the jealousy? So in these 2 emotions, the one that the agency that is responsible is the mind. The mind will have figure out an image of a object and then misunderstand, misconstrue. So there's a whole lot of work that is going to go to the mind, and in which case you will be paying attention to that mind which has given you the feeling of hatred and jealousy. So when you're too preoccupied with this mind, it has already distracted you from the real objective divine interest. So the moment we need to pull back. If not, it will just keep on going. There are some people who store a hatred for 40 years, 50 years. Some people just keep it inside. They don't know how to let go also, And it is very important to do so, because you know why? Because these emotions can continue after death also. This is the problem. You keep it, you store energy. I think somewhere around the way you also spoken about that. You store energy. The energy will be kept inside and it will be carried forward. Even though the body may have these energies will outlive the body and then will be transferred to another hardware, and then this will continue. So unnecessary. So therefore, we not only have to pull the mind away from these things, but don't forget, we got bigger task. Not only this, then the mind have to be curtailed, have to be curbed, have to be refined. And then we need to move into transcendence. It's not transformation. Transformation is just the process. That is the education, human value program. All these things that we are doing is transform. But we need to reach a point in which the mind has to attain transcendence. Now that transcendence is where the realization will come in, because you've transcended the mind. So there's a lot of processes in this self-realization that we really need to pay attention to. And that is why this divine interest is a very important point. I think the real thing that we need to remember is what Baba said. Even the river, as in its consciousness, knows that it has to reach the ocean. How come man has forgotten, he says. So like that, the river flowing from on top of the hill always knows where it's going. Even there's a small little rock or stone, it knows how to go above it, it knows how to bend it. So it never stops until it reaches the ocean. So that divine interest must always be there. Otherwise, small things that comes along the way, we will be distracted. Because the mind is like that, it always will try to pull us away. So this is a very nice precautionary warning that the teacher has given us in order for us to become more vigilant.
Kyra.
Yep. Anyone would like to?
Yes, Kyra. The divine qualities are unselfishness. Where unselfishness, the divinity is there. You are sure. And jealousy and hatred. Hatred is worse than jealousy. When you look at somebody and feel jealousy, we might think we better copy that person or become like that person or better than that person. But hatred, it will provoke and bring violence. So hatred is worse than jealousy, but both you have to avoid. Saira, by divine qualities like unselfishness. Saira.
Your sister, Mother Ramanathan, you'd like to say something?
Sorry, I came a bit late.
Oh, yeah, okay.
There's a beautiful Zen story which talks about that there was a bull and he used to pass through his road to the work, and there was a house which was filled up with hay. So every day this bull will push the door, and he'll took out some hay and eat. And this story used to go for many days, and the door will open slowly, and he will get more hay to eat or something like that. And one fine day, what happens? He pushed and the door opened, and he could go inside fully. But the story says he went inside fully, but his tail got stuck. And the Zen master stops the story saying that, what does it mean by tail got stuck? So there he says that sometimes we do bigger sacrifices to our spiritual, to gain our spiritual journey. But sometimes we forget. We don't let go our small prejudices, our small angers, and we never forgive them. So that is the main meaning of the tail got stuck, is that the bull was ready to give bigger sacrifice, leaving sometimes people leave all the bigger sacrifices for the goal, but still they keep those small grudges, small jealousy feelings and other things. So it is to remove that is also most important, and we should look in our behavior that how we are stuck with those small things, so that when we get our realization, only when all the small things also remove. So this is a very nice story. I always remember that sometimes we forget our closer people to forgive them, but we always forgive the bigger things. So this is a very, I thought it must be shared here.
Okay, thank you, Brahmanush. Perhaps you go back to the line by line again and see whether any further insights from the rest, okay? So this letter, Swami says, my dear boys, are you feeling my presence in the very cells of your body? So how do we constantly feel Swami's presence? God, if you think of God, you are. Thus, if you think of thus, you are. Verily, thoughts are things. As you think, so you become. What you sow, so you reap.
So this first three lines actually is a very regulatory line, which means to say, where when you say presence, God's presence. So the way I feel is that the way to really connect, the most important thing, and the whole letter is actually talking about connectivity. So if we know whether your phone is charged, when you're connecting to the plug, whether the charge is coming, you'll see the indicator, and then you'll see it going up and finally get 100%. So like that, continuously, every morning, the morning you get up, you feel a sense of happiness. You feel a sense of purpose-driven. You feel a sense of commitment. You feel a sense of enthusiasm. So these are the qualities. You feel that there's no boredom. You feel that every moment is sacred. You feel connected to the people whom you're serving. You feel connected. So when we just continuously feel these qualities, then these are all the attributes of the feeling of a presence. But if you're not going to feel this, that's why Swami said in Monsoon Showers Part 1, Baba said, you don't need to search God anywhere. If you are searching for God anywhere, it is like almost asking, where am I? And you keep searching for yourself. And then if you keep doing that, people will think you're mad because you are there. There's no need to search anywhere. So you are there. And so he said, God is also like that. You are there. He's there. There's no need to search for anything like that. But we now need to equate those little experiences to make sure that we are rooted in that experience. Also, that's why, and then we have the ability to pull away. Supposing we're getting angry, or we feel upset, or we feel agitated. We know that we're going to get these emotions, or we feel this emotion. So the ability to unplug from this and to continuously plug into that keeps you in that presence all the time. So that's why the regulatory thing is, the way to do that is God. If you think of God, you are dust. So we have the choice to switch this mechanism, whether you're God or you're dust. And this feeling also is in the science, because in the Heisenberg principle tells us about this particle or wave, you see. So if you don't focus on the particle, you're in the wave state. But if you focus on the particle, you'll become particle. So in physics also, it is the same way. It all will depend upon, like after the satsang, if you're going to pick up any one point, is make a resolution that I don't want to lower my frequency anymore by thinking something negatively, or being possessed by some other thoughts, or feel that the insecurity, anxiety. Don't feel those things. Then it is going back to God as you are. So these two states we control. Nobody else controls. Even God cannot control this. By the way, God cannot tell you that. We have to do this effort. God, if you think of that effort, we have to take. So this is a very powerful regulatory point to keep us on the same path.
Sairam, I think feeling God's presence, the very fact that we know we are alive, it's the presence of God already.
Yeah.
Sairam.
Sairam, I think our conscious is God. That's the Jivatma, the soul. It's God inside. You listen to your conscious, then you know it's God. God is within us. Conscious is God. That tells the correct things to us. But we don't listen because of our desires and ego. We just ignore it. Conscious is God. That's what I think. Saira.
Saira.
Sairam.
It is a very important issue in life, which we have discussed very often, is the internal enemies which exist over a period of time. Maybe it will go on as long as we live, or as long as we get self-realization. So how do we moderate ourselves is how we approach life daily. So our priority now is to be godly, is to be divine. So we have got to inculcate a divine way of living consciously. And that has got to happen with a certain amount of discipline. And that discipline must be with love and not by force. It must come within, because you have so much of faith in Swami. You read, you see so many, you come across so many beautiful stories of Swami in YouTube. You hear so many miracles that has taken place. We ourselves, over the period from the time we got to know Swami, we have seen many wonders, and we are wonderstruck. And during this period, we have taken it that Swami will live forever, and sometimes we forget ourselves and go into habits which are not very good, because we think that Swami is around and we don't have to worry about situations. So what do we do? What must we do? We have to bring about the affirmation that you are God. You have got to say that daily. Best time will be in the morning, and throughout the day, whenever you are alone. You can keep yourself busy talking with Swami, and that will give you a very close, the regression curve moves close, followed by the intensity. So how can we inculcate this in anybody? There's no direct method. It must be indirect. Indirect means something will tell you about the push towards Swami, how to get things done with Swami in you. And you got to work it out. And you got to experience this. Not really experiment, but experience. So the experience comes over a period of time. So what kind of experience are you talking about? It could be any kind of a venture, the daily challenges. As soon as you leave the house or while you're in the house, you can see things happening. And everything which happens is something which you feel happy about. And that happiness is due to the presence of Swami. Same thing, if you are doing some cooking, for instance, certain things you forget. But then the presence of mind gets you to do the thing rightly. And then it becomes a joy for everybody who's sharing the food. Same thing when you're sharing some knowledge. Everybody has got something, and you contribute something in addition to what everybody has said. Not that everybody else who talked was not good or not to the point, but everybody is trying to come out with something. And here you add, and there is a glow in everybody's face. How did that happen? It's the presence of Swami. You cannot take credit for that. You got it there because of your belief in Swami. So it becomes a second nature. So you got to keep on that path open. And that path becomes less thorny if you practice what Swami has told us from day one. He has given us certain path, like the 9-way code, like reading his literature, meditation. All that keeps us imbibed in Swami. All this makes us feel one with Swami. And what did Hanuman do? Hanuman reminds himself of his Lord by reciting Lord Ram's name. Hare Ram, Hare Ram. He keeps on reciting. No matter what, wherever he is reciting Lord Rama's name. So much so, when he talks about Rama, thinks about Rama, his hair stands on end. What brings him to feel that way or experience that? It is his strong attachment with Lord Rama. He is one with Lord Rama. Wherever he is one with Lord Rama. He doesn't digress from that. How did he manage that? How did he manage that? I think the simple answer is your love for Swami, his love for Lord Ram, your love for Swami, your faith. And then next is how you conduct yourself every day. Wherever you are, you cannot find a parking space. And then you go, you pray to Swami, and then you get a place. Well, what is all this? This is supposed to be the presence of the Lord in you. And as you get older and older, or as you get stronger and stronger in your belief, your experiences will unfold to be very divine. And then you find a situation where you feel that divinity is coming closer and closer to you. And you share this divinity by not talking about it, but by bringing out that beautiful, not knowledge, but you contribute your labor of love. Your labor of love. Your labor of love is shared with everybody. You don't talk about that labor of love shines. And that is supposed to be divinity. That is divine. So we shouldn't give up on that. We continue because it's a lifelong process. We do not know when we can reach the goal, but the process must continue. in order to keep ourselves in the glow so that you become the message of Swami. Saram, brother.
Thank you, Brother Rama.
Yeah.
Saram.
Saram.
Thank you.
Hi, Ram, brother. Yes, what you said is true. Action speaks louder than words. It should be action. So when you think that God is your conscious, your thought, word, and deed will be pure. And you can do unconditional love, pure love, show unconditional pure love towards everybody and selfless service. So that we can develop our spiritual. We can develop in a spiritual field and reach the goal. Saram.
Thank you. And so, Billy, you want to go on?
Yep. Okay. So the next paragraph talks about spiritual development does not germinate from the seed sown in the soil of earthly pleasures. Every reaction in the form of evil or hatred is so much loss to the mind. And every evil thoughts or deeds of hatred or any thought of reaction, if it is controlled. So the keyword here is if it is controlled, will be laid in your favor. So what do we understand from this statement? Then it says, it is not that you lose by just restraining yourself. We are going to gain infinitely more than what we expect. Each time we suppress hatred or feelings of anger, it is so much energy stored up in our favor. That piece of energy is converted into the highest power.
Sairam, what is meant by spiritual development does not germinate from the seed sown in the soil of earthly pleasures? This line, what does it mean?
Yeah, this one.
So this one in Monsoon Showers Part 1, there is a story that Shirdi Baba said. Shirdi Sai Baba a lot of devotees were waiting in front of Shirdi Sai Baba, but he was just looking at coins, copper coins. He was just shifting the coins from one hand to the other hand and the other hand, while the devotees were all waiting, And then, another devotee came to him and said, Swami, a lot of people are waiting. You're continuously playing with coins. So he said, look at these coins. The coins, these words are not clear. Look at this coin. The coin is defective. Look at this coin that it is certain parts have been spoiled. So all these are defective coins. And then he said, like that, the people who have come here are also defective. They only come here for one purpose. And that is what certain things they have not, so their shops, they need prosperity. If the child is not married, another child has gone, not gone. They're only coming here to ask me those things. And that is not what I want. Who is come here to ask me Atmanyanam? So Shirdi Sai Baba said, who has come here to ask me about Atmanyana? Nobody has come. Baba said, I too am asking the same question. People have asked me, come here to ask me many things, but not come to ask me the question about spirituality. So the point here is that we have a spiritual guru, we have a master, we have organization and everything else. But the real growth of spirit, we are just using all these things for the purposes of keeping ourselves continuously being entertained in the worldly world, in the earthly pleasures. This is all important, but we are not mistaking it. But when will we be earnest enough, serious enough to ask the final point in which how do we release that? So if we continuously just engross ourselves in the worldly entrapment, nothing will grow from us. We will just spend all our time and energy, our intelligence, our thoughts and everything else only for the purposes of material things. And in that, we will nothing much will grow in us. So this is all, that's why the key thing is that the river and the ocean is a very important analogy. If the river can know that it should reach the ocean, it's okay if as it goes along, we must have this, we must have college education, all that is important. But the end result, we need to keep it in our mind. So it's a very, very important statement to realize this, that very important statement to realize that nothing can germinate in the field of material world. The real truth is that we have to have the discriminatory power to slowly move from all this and start inquiring deeper and deeper. Because unless we do that, the growth won't take place. So even service, that's why we are now in our zone, we are now looking at, like in the service, we go for service thing, okay, good, that's very nice. But then there must be a spiritual debriefing of the service activity in order to imply the spiritual significances of the activity or the spiritual role that you are taking up. If you're just doing it as a functional role, then nothing much can happen. But if there is spiritual in depth, but by doing this role, how are we growing? Then there will be growth. So ultimately, we need to understand that we are here to grow. And in the process of the growth, the mind must be kept purified. That's why the point there, Swami, the following point is every reaction, a form of evil, hatred is so much lost to the mind. And we keep so much lost to the mind means the mind is battling with all these things. So we are not here to keep battling it, because if we keep doing that, we will not transcend. We will just keep it here and will be too preoccupied with these things. So there is we really have to spend time in becoming very vigilant of our thoughts, curbing it, controlling it, and then transcending them. Then only that it will come in your favor. This aspect of this sadhana, in which we take effort in doing that, we are going to gain infinitely more than what we expect. That's what Swami said. This is all investment. The amount of things that we can gain as a result of our effort will be phenomenal, will be large. It's nothing compared to anything that you can endeavor in this world. So that aspiration must be very strong in us. This Atma Jnana is why, that's why Atma Swarup, he kept reminding us, even in the speeches he never says, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, he says Atma Swarupa, Prema Swarupa and all that. It's because to keep reminding us that this is what it is. This knowledge must be there. We must seek this at whatever cost. We must achieve that. So very, very powerful reminder and lines in Swami's lines.
So, which means the following sentence which says, yep. James.
Sorry. So the first sentence, the spiritual development does not germinate. So of course this will not germinate because you seek the soul of earthly pleasure, worldly thing, So then the spiritual will not develop definitely. So the only thing is we need to do our sadhana, right? And then a spiritual knowledge to apply, right? And then worldly, of course, we can have, as Suresh say, yes, worldly we have to take care, but we must also have a certain part of our life or certain time of our time where we can do something more spiritual for our spiritual development, right? So I think both sides are important, but more important is the spiritual side of it. The worldly is just to sustain the body, right? But the other one is the eternal one side of.
Okay. So any feedback from the rest of you on this particular following sentence? Each time we suppress hatred or feeling of anger, it is so much energy stored up in our favor. That piece of energy is converted into the highest power, which means we must learn to respond, don't react. When there's external stimulus, we normally react very fast, okay? With annoyance, with feeling of anger, and this is where I think Swami wanted us to restrain ourselves, okay? Reflect on what is happening, how we are feeling in our mind. And this is where I think the practice of patience comes in. Am I correct in saying this?
Yeah, I mean, literally when he says suppress hatred and feeling of anger, it's not easy, but normal people will try to do that. Normal people, anger is no good. I know there was one brother, whenever we have meeting, he get angry, he walk out of the meeting room, and then probably 10 minutes when he sat down, he come back. So that was one of the way he suppressed. At least he walked out of the room, Otherwise, if he stayed back in the room, there would be big quarrel, because he couldn't control his anger anymore. So that was one of the things he did. The other thing is, this suppress can be there is another meaning in it. That's where the meditation come in. Let's say you quarrel with somebody, right? You got a lot of anger, a lot of hatred, right? And when you meditate, you learn to let go. During meditation, there will be quarrel inside your mind, right? There will be a lot of thoughts. You will justify, your ego will be there. But during the meditation, you don't get angry. You just watch all the anger, watch all the thoughts, Let's say after 20 minutes meditation, when you come out, the anger and hatred almost like 70, 80% gone. You become more calm and more peaceful and more clear in your mind. And that's where he say the energy is converted into highest power. Right? So that sadhana or meditation helps a lot. It's another way of suppressing, but very superior sadhana.
Okay, perhaps you move on to the next page. My dear boys, okay, censure or embraces are mere vibrations of the air. God in you is God in all. If you have not known this, you have known nothing. If you are pure and strong, you are equal to the whole world. Better to be raised than to be praised. Mere praising is falling down. Search the human mind and find out the one who make it. Where there's difference, remove it. When there's misunderstanding, drive it off. You should not compromise divine interests. Truth is more fundamental than atom. So what is Swami trying to tell us, with this paragraph? When he say sensual means disapproval, okay? Disapproval and praises are mere vibrations of the air, which means it's not permanent. It's just, you hear it and then it just goes off, You may be happy at a moment of time, or if someone disapproves you, you will not be happy at a moment of time. But remember, what is inside you is God, right? Any further insights on this?
Saidam Uncle.
Yes.
Yeah, just like I was just thinking, if let's say I'm the student who's receiving this letter, so I'm reading from a student's point of view. Of course, there is a higher truth and there is very sublime and very subtle truths in a lot of sentences that Swami have written here. But some very basic thing I think Swami would probably is stressing in most of the parts in this letter would be him telling that whether you get angry or not is secondary, but the effort of restraining, the effort of controlling, the effort of doing something, because I know a lot of us will say I'm not an angry person, so I don't think so this works for me. So, but it's actually not about just not getting angry, because I know Swami, I think in the very same summer shower, Swami says that one of the hallmark of a spiritual person is actually titiksha, that means endurance. So the ability to, if you look at the whole thing that Swami is telling, he's telling about developing endurance and, and for endurance for us to be motivated to be, to endure, actually spirituality will be a good motivation for that, as in whatever that spirituality is supposed to give us. So if let's say from a student's point of view, then I would say that as in it is actually very practical advices that Swami have given, like what I can do immediately next day. God, you think, God, you become, dust, you think. One, of course, is our self-affirmation, but another way of seeing, I think, would be like repeatedly thinking about God. Therefore, I might become God someday. Repeatedly thinking about things worthy like dust, I might become dust someday. That is also one simple student, the way I would have actually interpreted the sentence, or the whole of this part as well. If you have not known God, then you have not known anything. Or Swami is talking about how things are just vibrations of the air, and he's actually just trying to convince the students that hey, you have to do something, and that doing something is actually what spirituality is all about. I suppose That is how I see the whole of the sentence in the letter from just now.
Thank you, Dr. Ghani.
Nice.
Sairam, we have to go towards the truth, which is permanent, it's unchangeable. So the anger or hatred is not permanent. It has to go. It won't be there all the time. So we have to go towards the truth, which is permanent, which is God and love. Sairam.
Thank you, sister. What does Swami mean when he say better to be raised than to be praised?
See, I feel that this letter must have been written as a result of a circumstance that must have happened. And Bhagavan is writing a letter for this. So there must be some situational issue in which some criticism would have been passed, and people might have got affected. So he's just saying, hey, listen, don't worry whether you're disapproval or whether you're praise. All this is just passing, okay? It's all in the vibration. So don't pay too much attention to it, and know that the God is in you. He's also God in all. That means the one who has criticized you also has got God in that person. So don't give too much importance to these things, and know that everything is equal. Sometimes it's better to rise to another level than to be continuously be praised. No use of being just continuously praised. Better someone criticize you, and you know that what the criticism is about, and you can now rise above that. And rising above that is much better than somebody who just continuously prays, because sometimes when you're continuously praised, ego can come in and you can fall down. So that's where the whole thing is. So therefore, you've got to search in the human mind and find out who is the one. When you keep on searching inside, who is the one who made you? What is it that has made you? And then if there is some misunderstanding that has come about, don't keep on giving importance to that misunderstanding. Remove the misunderstanding. Don't keep on finding out why this person has said like that, why that person has said like that. Remove that, because the most important thing you must remember is the divine interest. You have come here, the river must go to the ocean. Don't spend too much time in giving importance to these things. You should not compromise, and finally, that is the ultimate truth. But truth is even subtler than the atom. That's why your mind has to recede and become subtle and go towards higher platforms, higher levels. So don't spend too much time in trying to find out who is wrong, who's right, who's misunderstanding and all that. Just take it as a passing cloud. So probably some circumstance would have come about like that, and the teacher must have written this generally to students like that. So I think that is what it is. So this applies to all our everyday things also. You go to office, somebody calls you, or you go someone's in the center, something must have happened. We must not give too much. Okay, it has happened. Okay, fine. Okay, done. Past is past. So we must have the resilience to bounce back. That is what a spiritual person must have, the resilience to bounce and not keep on keeping inside. And because there is so beautiful things waiting for us to explore and experience. But if we dissipate in all these little things and get disturbed, we find that we may not grow. I think that is what, in essence, this thing is all about. I mean, this is my feeling.
Brothers, Dr. Sabitan, you have want to say something?
Sairam, everyone. I actually wanted to say something, but Suresh Anna already mentioned it, so it's okay, Sairam.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Sairam, I think it's quite common to see members like they do something good or they success something good, and they feel very happy when you praise them. Or people praise them, they feel very happy. I don't know, when people, for me, when people praise me, I don't feel nice. The reason I don't feel nice is because it's just a duty, it's just something you do for Swami, nothing else, But you see, when you do and people praise, you see the difference or not, right? You just go and do, right? You don't need any praise, right? And people praise you might be artificial also, right? But if he do, then you feel happy, even better, all right? what's the point of people always praising you? I don't see the point in it, you know, it's not realistic enough, you know. And then the thing is, when you suggest or when you do something good and all that, not only that you expect praise, but there are maybe better way, or in the sense that people might criticize you or people might suggest other things that it's a different way of doing things much better than you. So the thing is, you feel like, why you criticize me? I suggest something good, you know. You know, if you see, oh yeah, his one is a greater idea, you know. Oh, he suggested something very good. Will you think of like that rather than waiting for people to praise you? I think to be spiritual means you always use your wisdom and discrimination, you know. Even you suggest something thing and people suggest even better one, we must be open and accept. And being spiritual means we shouldn't be affected by praise. That is important. Of course, praise you find it more acceptable, but criticism we find it a bit more difficult. And yet, we should not be affected by praise and criticism. To be spiritual, I mean, we know this is the truth. So we are practicing wherever people criticize us or praise us, we must be very aware and careful where our standing is. The best is not to be affected by both and just do the right thing or do the right action. Sign up.
Thank you, Brother James. So, over to Dr. Suresh. We have another 2 more minutes. So, Group 1 has completed its presentation, and next week is Group 2. Their title is "He Who Loses His Individuality Gains Universal Reality."
Yeah. So thank you, Brother Billy. Thank you, Group 1, for see. This is how we take the letter, understand, decipher, find out whether extra meaning, look for deeper things so that we can be inspired. Because the real reason is this must have been written to somebody. There's so much depth in what Bhagavan has written, and it's up to us to feel. And the way the group has done is so nice, so that it gives a lot of insights. Okay, so we have with these few words, thank you so much. Until we meet again next week, Saira.